So hello everyone. This is like a try to talk about Zilean to make people more aware. Who is that champion? Why should you play him or why you should not play him? And we have some lovely people with us who will, I guess, introduce themselves right now, and then we'll follow with some topics.
How about in descending order? Biotic, you go first.
Yeah.
Hello, Biotic.
My sound just passed. No, it's all right. Yeah, my in-game name is Biotic Zilean. I think I'm playing Zilean since like season 7 or something. So yeah, it's been almost 3 years now, and I peaked 1K LP Challenger, and now I'm at 400 LP Grandmasters at the moment.
All right. My IGN is TheDisconnect. My name is Jamie. I've played Zilean since the end of season 2, so I played the old Zilean as well.
Wow.
I didn't really ever try in ranked until maybe last season. I've got about Grandmaster last season. I've been Master for a few seasons, and I'm currently Master, peaked I think about 400 LP this season. I usually play top, and then mid secondary. I basically never play support.
Hey, I'm TSG Zeri is my in-game name on EUNE. I'm Icecoler on EU West. I am D1 on both servers. I've only really played Zilean this season. I used to be a mid main, but now I play supports.
Yeah, so thanks for that. And I guess we'll just move to the first topic, which is others people opinion on Zilean. For that, we have asked some people who are very familiar with their champions and also familiar with the game. There are the moderators on other servers, other subreddits, and opinions are shown in the chat that you can see. I'll read some of them so everyone can be aware of that. We got some positive, mixed, and negative opinions. Positive, like I like Zilean because then I get transcend speed, or some people like his laugh, or we have like very built-in a phrase as someone who just likes to play mid that he very appreciates that he has good wave gear, he has decent damage, even though it's hard to do sometimes stuff because he has just one damaging ability. He likes him because he's a supportive mid laner who has a good escape for ally as well. You have some mixed opinions that, for example, a person who hates how he punishes enemies for getting kills due to his ultimate, but at the same time, he really appreciates that Zilean players are actually skilled players. They know what is happening and know how to utilize their kits. Then, of course, negative opinions, as every champion has some haters. For example, I hate Zilean on my team because we both ult at the same time and I get question mark pinged from him. It's from Shenmane, by the way. Some people hate his 99% direct slow. It's just like rank 5, guys. Please stop like putting it up every time. Or some people hate him just in ARAMs because when he's paired with the good champ, then you're just pop stomped. And then we have one person who brought up that Blastoise actually abuses him in soloQ because he's broken. So yeah, what is your opinion on that? Do you agree with those statements or disagree with that? What's your statement on that?
I think the good and the mixed comments are great because, for instance, like the initial one of I like Zilean because I get transcend speed. Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the best part of him, I think. I basically 90% of my games I duo with a Rammus, so that's basically my win condition. I queue the Rammus, I E him in, he runs in 10 million miles an hour and just slams into the AD carry and one-shots them with a bomb and CC. And isn't that just brilliant? So yeah, I love that kind of thing, and I think that's why a lot of people love playing with him. But playing against him, I don't agree at all with the denies or punishes enemies for getting kills, because there's plenty of champions in the game that have abilities which deny kills, and that's part of their kit, and you have to play around that. So for instance, on Zilean, let's say you Urgot ult a Zilean, and he Rs. Well, if you R him in and he revives, it's your fault. It's on you to play around his ult, and if you let him ult, that's your fault. That's not him, his champion, denying you, that's you misplaying. So I think Zilean ult is all about misplays and playing around. Like you can get someone low and intentionally not kill them, completely waste Zilean's ult. I think you need to think of it more of as an outplay rather than I just can't do anything, he'll just ult,
Yeah, I definitely
that's-
agree, but I think that like I can understand some points because Zilean is a pretty toxic champ to play against. Like his lockdowns, you see, I mean, if you max your E, it's basically a hard CC. Like you can't move, but you can use spells, but you can't really move, and yeah, it's just really toxic to play against it, especially this control-y way that you can just wave clear, that you can you can totally deny like people who just try to one-shot someone in your backline with the ultimate and stuff. It's just really toxic to play against when you're not used to Zilean. Like you can obviously play around it, and it has clear weaknesses and strength, but I think if you just don't care about the kit Zilean has, and you play against the Zilean in an enemy team, he's a pretty oppressive champion for sure.
I agree with that. I also think part of the problem is that he has like the best of both worlds, where he can like slow somebody down and he can also speed a teammate up. Like it makes it very annoying to play versus, because I think his E is the worst, like the most frustrating ability to play versus, not his ultimate.
Yeah.
I think the max D is people. When I play a lot of other champs as well, I do not just only play Zilean. I play other champs, and I absolutely hate playing against Zilean. I think getting E'd, because I play a lot of Riven, I play Camille. They're actually good against them, but even still, trying to go in as like Riven when your cooldowns are down and you just get Zilean E'd for 5 full seconds because he resets it, it's just so depressing. So I totally understand that it's awful to play against, but that's why I love playing it. I love playing against these kind of hyper skill champs in top lane like Jax and Camille and Riven and just slowing them to death and just watching them be really sad. I think it's quite fun. I think it's a totally different way of playing the game. And I think
Yeah,
people aren't
totally.
really like used to playing against someone who's playing like that. They're very used to having some kind of bruiser off. And I love showing people that there's a different way to play the game. It's not just about an outplay 1v1. You can play a more controlling game. So I like doing something different. So that's why I quite like doing that.
Yeah, I think if you compare him on especially on top lane, on mid lane, there are like no champions that are at least similar to him. Like, and on support, you can definitely make an argument that stuff that there are picks which are some similar, but he's obviously viable in top lane and mid, and yeah, there's nothing comparable, and that makes him really great on those roles, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I love playing him. He's the only champ like himself. There's no way to compare him. He's not really like anything else in any other games as well. So it's just totally fun to play.
Sounds like Riven and Aatrox.
But I could talk about how they're nothing alike, but I'll let that one slide.
Yeah, I know.
I know. I appreciate the meme though.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I think we can move on. Unless you want to add something. If you want to come back to that, we can of course go back to that. But maybe as we touched upon the top, mid, and support viability, we could actually talk about like his playstyle in these roles, more or less. Like what are his strengths in there? Like why would you pick Zilean top lane? Why would you pick Zilean support or mid lane? And then like how do you adapt to enemy team? Because Zilean, I think, is also one of the more flexible champions in regard to his build path, rune choices. It's not like you need to pick, I don't know, Comet or Dark Harvest or Electrocute, like some champions have like built in like you have to go Conqueror, for example, on some champions or something like that.
I think a good place to start would be if you look at the statistics of Zilean, what's something 80% of people that play him support. So how about one of the support players talk about,
Yeah, we can start with support because that's like
I
majority of
really.
like player base is playing support, and you have mid top.
Exactly. So yeah.
Some random people playing jungle and ADC.
I mean,
Start it up.
Sure.
yeah, I can start. Like on support in general, like the main runes, like you can take are like Airy, Glacial, and Guardian. That's like the way I would put it. Like so 3 definitely are viable on Zilean and represent pretty different playstyles. I myself don't play Airy, so I would speak up for Glacial and Guardian. Glacial is a rune I took a lot in the past, and you just go the glacial items like Hextech, GLP, and Twin Shadows in that order in my how I play it, and it's just really oppressive when you get those items in the mid games and you just permanently like catch people and control objectives in a way which is again really toxic. What we talked about in the first the first point, that people can't really do a lot about your massive AoE CC, which is which is on support pretty strong and underrated, especially like Glacial. Yeah, that's the Glacial part.
Yeah, I pretty much only play Airy, so that works out well since you play the other two. And for me, it's just I play it because it's like every single rune I pick feels irreplaceable because I play very. I usually try to roam around a lot and impact the map because I feel like that's what Zilean excels on in the mid game. So I go like Celerity and Water Walking, Relentless Hunter, stuff like that. So it's just a different kind of playstyle where I don't really try to win my lane as hard. I just try to win the map. But it's of course it has to change every single game because if you have an ADC that can get picked out by the enemy bot lane, that won't work. He'll go 0 and 10 and AFK. So
I think your point is great. I think so. Biotic likes to take Glacial. You like to take Airy. When I play support, I always take Guardian. I think that the way I play support is I'm not as comfortable at it, so I just take Guardian and AFK the lane out. Basically,
Yeah.
I just kind of do nothing. I'm not really looking to fight, and I tend to, yeah, like you say, I think you're totally right. I think Zilean's whole game plan is mid game. That's when and just roam about. So totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when the
Yeah.
E kicks in as well, because like some
Depends
people
how you
max
max.
Q. Yeah, true, but like I think majority have like changed their way to max E actually first, or like put some points in Q and then max E, because they've realized how strong E can be in the mid game. As many people hate this 99% slow, but 99% haste is as impactful as well, because you can have
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Ramus that you play with Ramus, or you can have
Exactly. Yeah.
like I don't know if I guess new Volibear also would like the new speed buff, but
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
But
So yeah, what I like about the speed buff that you're talking about, right? So
Mhm.
when I play with a Ramus or a Zilean or a Ramus or a Hecarim, champions kind of like that, maybe Olaf or a Fed Jax, I'll identify the game before I choose what to max second. If I am the one that's going to need to be dealing damage, I'm the only one with money, I'll max W second. That would be as top as in mid.
Oh yeah.
If I have a teammate to work with well that can benefit from engage, I will max E. So when I play with Ramus, I pretty much always will max E second. If I play on my own, which I do a lot as well, and I don't really have champions that benefit from it, let's say I have an Evelyn jungle, and a top lane Rise, I'm going to max W, right? Obviously that comp's absolutely horrible, but you get the point, right? If those champions don't really benefit from speed as much, so you max W to support them, just to do more damage, basically.
Mhm.
And I know that the E scales as well, but I'm not convinced sometimes that E is better. I don't know. What's your opinion on maxing W? Do you ever do that at the other
Like,
Zilean mains?
on support, I never do it. Like I think
No,
that should be really clear.
Yes,
but
yeah,
also when I'm off roll top lane and mid lane, I used to like I always max E second,
Mhm.
but that's just because my play style might be a lot different. Like I tend to group way earlier and just take over the vision play and start catching, and that's the way I play Zilean, no matter which role I am. Just when I'm getting top, when I'm mid, I just have more damage, and I basically play in the same way.
Why don't we talk about? Sorry, you can go ahead.
Nah, I wasn't really much to add. It's just like same with me. I'm support. I always go E second. It's not
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
sometimes I'll go only 3 points in Q and then go E, and then I'll go like W. It's not really second, but like from levels, it would be like 11 or 12 to 15. But yeah, that's that.
yeah. So the playstyle is really interesting, right? And I think everyone here has talked about mid game and roaming. And when I play so let's transition the topic over to mid lane. When I play in mid lane, that's kind of the whole point. It's why I like to play mid as well as top. Most of my games are off top, but when I play mid, it's nice to max W because you're already in the action. Yes, your E can be used to catch, but it's more that you can just constantly shove the wave in mid with your W maxed second, and you can roam. Without W max, it's actually quite difficult to shove in the entire wave. You're going to struggle to clear the whole wave, especially a cannon wave, because Zilean all he has is auto attacks. So once you've double bombed, you have auto attacks. If you have max W with good CDR, you can just keep bombing the wave over and over. Obviously, with the double bomb and the triple bomb, without max T, you can't do that. So unless I have someone specific to play with, and I'm okay to sacrifice my own lane, then I will max W for that specific reason in mid. In top, not usually.
That's also interesting that you mentioned the triple bomb, because like I can only remember that the triple bomb I've ever done like in a custom game, maybe.
Yeah,
I think when I would actually go into game, I never did it, like really never. But that's because I'm maxing W last, and you never hit level 18.
Level 18
17
is ridiculous.
on
Yeah,
support.
no, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
On mid and top lane, you can maybe do it in many games, but yeah, it's also a mechanic, which is, I don't know if it's that useful. I can't really say anything about it, because like it looks really flashy, and it's like something people think of when they see Zilean, and they know a couple of stuff about him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
The only thing I find it's useful for, and it's going to be good as well, is I think it's really useful for killing blue. Like you can clear blue at like level 16 if you know, in like a sort of quite late game, like 35 minutes. You can clear blue without it like moving, and it's really annoying because a lot of times I see this a lot with other Zileans, and I sometimes myself do it when I kind of can't be bothered doing the triple bomb, quadruple bomb. Is I just go and double bomb the blue, and then it just like walks after you, and you have to kite it around a bit. Whereas if you just keep Q W Q W Q W, it just stays in place and it doesn't move, and you can just kill it really easily. It's not going to walk into the enemy team or something. It's much easier to secure it. Also, it's way better versus like champions like Nasus late game, that you know they're not going anywhere and you can keep them rooted forever. That's pretty much the only use of it. I think it doesn't have that many uses. So yeah, you're right.
I think
There's also the that like doing flashy plays on Zilean happens so rarely that it looks pretty dope.
Yeah, you're very right.
Yeah, like I want to bring up, like actually, and I think I've seen just twice in pro play. Like overall, Zilean is not played often, but I think I've seen just once Bjergsen doing that, and casters like went wild. Wow, he's actually so great, Zilean.
Yeah.
And I was like me, gold player, was like, do you not know that? Like you're a caster. I mean, that's fair. Zilean is not pegged, but then I remember also Faker.
You're right.
And when Faker did that, people were like, wow, he's actually a mega brain. And I think Faker did it like I think he made like 5 chain bomb then on Jarvan. So
you can chain it almost infinitely.
Yeah,
actually.
I think like 7 is like actually not that hard to pull off.
It's not 45%. Yeah, it's not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine that happens in proplay, like everyone would just
It
people
would be the most
went
disgusting
bananas.
thing to watch ever.
Wow,
really.
Yeah.
Like the first post on Reddit, Zilean is so broken, he can bomb you forever.
It happens without that. So. Like I remember when GBM played versus TSM and they made the Zilean Poppy combo. Poppy was just reworked. And Poppy was like diving 2 towers or something. Like I remember Poppy diving their base, and Zilean just took her out, ulted her, and she still survived with 5 people around her. Like that's how crazy. Like I remember Reddit after that. I was so scared actually that Zilean would be like over nerfed then. But
I'm always scared Zilean's getting nerfed as well. After I play some games, I'm like, wait, is my champion overpowered?
Yeah, sometimes.
Then I get a few Aurelia games to slap me back into thinking that the champ's maybe not as good as I think he is.
But that's a really interesting topic, because I personally don't know how good Zilean is, and I've played him like
I
for
totally
ages.
agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Also the opinions of other players. Like when I meet people in soloQ and I slap them, and those are people I know. They used to tell me that my champ is the most broken champ in the game.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm on a 5-game losing streak because I get dove on the bot lane every time
Yeah.
3-6, and I can't play the game just by matchup. And people tend to tell me that I'm the worst player on the EOS server in Challenger.
Yeah. I totally agree. You get the full mix. I get told, "Wow, Zilean's so broken. You just walk about the map and you just 1v9 the game by doing nothing with no skill." And then I
Yeah.
also get the flip side of, "Please never pick Zilean. The champion's useless." And it's like, I have no idea what people think of this champ. You know,
And also people mix up what the champion can do and what the weaknesses and strengths are,
Yeah.
and how you play it.
Mhm.
Like they totally mix that up. But that's just the case for I think any champion that is not picked a lot.
I think, and this is a good segue into the next topic, would be how about items then? I think items change how you play the champ
Oh, yeah.
massively, and I used to, not anymore, because I think people kind of don't really know what you build in Zilean anymore. I used to get pinged my items every single game, back like season 6 to season 8. Every single game, I'd go, whatever I'd go, and people would be like, "Can you please build a Roa?" They ping my items. Look pro play, people build Roa, and I'm like, why would I build a Roa? Please explain to me. They're like, just look pro play. You build Roa, you copy the pros, you're not that good, And it's like, I have no idea what other people think of that. I think people, when they see the items, they understand Glacial and they really respect Glacial and they really get that. And I think people get Ludens as well. So that's why less so much you get a lot of people complaining about Zilean on your team. I think in this current season, that's not something I see that much. Definitely last season, I get it all the time though.
I have that right now when I test out. Like I'm still learning top lane because I think it's one of the strongest lanes for Zilean. So I'm learning it as an off role. And I used to play against weak champions. I play press the attack on Zilean, and I'm going Gnash of Tooth into Hextech GLP and stuff, which feels really oppressive. And people like used to ping all the time and stuff.
Press it, yeah.
And they're just telling me that I'm win trading and stuff. And that when I'm winning lane, people are like really surprised. And they're like, okay, so what happened? Like they just don't say anything sometimes, and sometimes they say you're like a god on the champion, which is
Yeah,
also
exactly.
not true because I just played an
totally
easy
agree.
matchup.
I totally agree. Yeah.
And yeah.
I think obviously top lane is what I play most of the time. Press the attack. I remember somebody telling me, they messaged me like, I just watched a video about press the attack Zilean. Is that a thing? And I thought for a second, I'd never tried it at the time, and I thought for 1 second, I thought that's broken. I thought, yeah, that sounds really good because 90% of what you do as top Zilean is just auto attack them.
You just abuse
You
because
just
when you
them,
bomb,
yeah, and
you fuck the wave kinda like you're destroying the wave control, and you just build up with like smart enemies. Just drag the bomb when it's on their head into the wave and make you slow push and call for ping the jungler. Come top, he's slow pushing and you can't do anything about it. And Zilean is pretty easy gankable on top lane. So you like a smart way to play around that is just make a usage of the nice. I like the auto attack animation of Zilean, and he does a lot of damage with auto attacks.
He does.
And also his range is big. Like people underestimate that, in my opinion.
I always go Corrupting Pot, and I always play Airy. So back to the runes. We talked about support. I always go Airy, I always go Corrupting Pot, and if you're playing against, let's say, someone like Jax, and I think a lot on paper, especially in pre-game lobbies, people often say, Zilean, you want to swap, you're against Jax. And I'm like, no, I would love this lane. This is good for me. Obviously, it can go bad, as every lane, but it's the kind of thing where if he Qs on you and E's, and you manage to E away from his stun, he's actually dead.
Yeah.
Flashing. There is nothing he can do at this point because you can just Q him and then you E him and you reset and you have both spells up. He doesn't really have a play here. If you Q him, he has to flash it, or he's just going to get auto down the lane. And it's that kind of thing where in the top lane, if there's no jungle support, you can actually just completely dominate them out of the game. The only problem I have is when you're doing all these shenanigans on Zilean top, where you're like running around and you're slowing them and stuff, your CS is going to tank. And my CS most of the time is not very good. For a top laner, it's pretty bad. But the thing is, I usually make their CS bad, so I'm trying to make them as useless as me. I turn the lane into a complete mess. I just roam about the map and they follow me. I always TP mid like level 4. If there's a gank mid at level like 3, I just TP on it immediately. And the enemy top laner TPs. It puts us both massively behind, but that benefits Zilean because he wants to be behind. And if the Camille's behind and you're behind, you're winning. You're massively winning. So
Oh yeah.
I totally am happy to concede CS all day if it's going to make the enemy laner also concede CS. So yeah, that's my play style basically, and that's what I'd recommend to everyone playing top. Just play like a second support, run about the map randomly. What about CS? Doesn't matter. Just get XP. That's the only thing that matters. XP.
It's like no wonder people don't know what to do versus you. It's like nobody in the world plays like that.
Yeah. That's what makes him so unique, and
Yeah, exactly.
like
It's
that's the reason why I love this champion, and
awesome. Me too.
and like whenever I have a bad day or what, and I'm playing Zilean, I'm having fun. Like
Yep, totally agree. Every game's fun. Every game makes me laugh. Of Zilean, I laugh every game. When you slow someone for 5 full seconds, it just makes me laugh. It's good.
I used to play on other accounts with other champions and building up a champion pool, and when games go bad, like a couple of times in a row, I used to feel really bad. And when that happens on Zilean, I'm totally fine. Like I'm still
Yep.
having my fun, and yeah.
It's like, as someone who plays a lot of other champs as well, if I play Camille, right, and I die level 3, solo kill, TP back, get ganked, and die, that's the game over.
Yeah.
You're done. You're out the game forever, and you're never getting back. On Zilean, if that happens, I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, it doesn't really
Anything can
bother me,
happen.
because I'm like, I'm still going to get level 6. My ult doesn't do anything different, so we're all good. Maybe the enemy laner's strong, but at the end of the day, if they make one mistake and they get slowed without flash, they're dead. And that's a shutdown to the AD carry or whoever gets the shutdown, right? And, you know, I kind of meme it a lot in games, but sometimes I tend to lose lane or die. It's probably too much. But the thing is, I'll die, maybe I die again to an Aurelia. She's got 450 gold in her or something, and then she just dies to the jungler, and I'm like, okay, that's game over. It's kind of dumb, but it actually does work. Surprisingly, it does work.
Yeah, it's really great with him that it doesn't really fall off even if you shut him down.
Yeah. That would be my recommendation. If anyone wants to play Zilean but doesn't really feel like, maybe he's a bit too weird. If you get tilted when playing top because you hate being behind, just play Zilean because you can't be behind really. It's kind of always good for you. You're always chilling. You're always going to scale. So
yeah, and also like I would actually put this at the biggest weakness of Zilean. Like even on support, you can always come back. Like even if you get dove and stuff, and things happen, and your opponents are getting really in front, the biggest weakness is still the attitude of your teammates.
I totally agree. Yeah, 100%.
Like that's why I used to be way higher on Elo in the past. That's just my opinion on Zilean. I think I got even better on Zilean than in the past. Like I used to think a lot more about stuff I didn't thought of before.
Yeah.
And I think I'm way better than before, but I'm straight up losing games when people crying in the team chat, like just yelling at each other, and when the early game, when you're losing the early game, you're kind of losing the game because your team is just it doesn't want to focus. And that's like a topic which got up in the recent time by Voyboy and stuff. Just get going out and telling people that griefing is something that happens a lot. And I think like personally, when you get a lobby with 5 people who try hard and play a late game comp, there's no way you will lose in soloQ.
You can't lose those. I totally agree. Actually,
I think there's a big late game meta at the moment.
Yes, I totally agree.
And people don't realize that just because the attitude is too bad.
I think people are too like. There's I dodge a lot in ranked. Me and my duo, we dodge a lot. If I go against like let's say, Cassio and an Ezreal AD carry, I'm just like I don't really want to play this game. It's just, and then they have like a sort of early game jungler to help assist that with like a Trundle or like a Rise. Champions like that just make me not, because I feel like I'm gonna hit a point in the game where even if we're winning, my guy dies a shutdown to the Rise for 700 gold, and I'm like, oh, well, we've lost. It's actually game over. He's gonna buy Mercs. I can't touch him now. He'll one shot me. He'll one shot the whole team. So I think my experience is there's plenty of games where I get it in my head at 10 minutes that even if the game's going well, I'm like, we can't win. They've got Karthus, they've got Ezreal. I'm like, oh
Yep.
dear. That's my opinion of the meta right now. So I totally agree. I think it's very late game centric. Totally agree.
I 100% agree that like when people try hard, the games are like that's the biggest issue at the moment is that people don't really try and they like the first blood and they're out. But I don't agree really that it's that hard of a late game meta. I feel like the dragons are too valuable early. Like you lose 2 dragons at the start, it feels really hard to come back because it's always the soul pressure. It's just basically a free win if you get the soul.
I think it depends on the draft, like because that's something people always say. Like when you pick a late game comp, you're going to lose the whole map in the early game, and that's not really true all the
I don't
time.
think that's true either. Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah, and that's I think a misconception. But obviously, when you lose when you pick three losing lanes and a farming jungler, you're just losing the game. Like that's pretty obvious that you. I think you can't do anything. Like every lane is losing. You can't get in the river. Your jungler will be permanently invaded. He can't farm. He can't do his job. The lanes can't do anything. We just lose the turrets. Enemies get full 15 plates, and you just lose the game. But when you get a strong lane and something you can play around, and you have just like
yeah, scaling champs. Yeah.
like on two sides pretty strong scaling champs. I think you just straight up win the game.
Yeah,
I think.
But I mean,
Yeah.
now we're talking about like you have a scaling comp and you win a lane that you can play around. That's a dream scenario, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm talking like what you would expect if everybody would play perfect. I think like with an early comp, you can like you have at least very clear win conditions, in my opinion. It's not that easy to get the late game. It's just my point. But you guys are higher elo. Like maybe it's different in your games.
I think you're right about the fact that it's not just only late game. I think most of my games end in mid game. The point is, though, the reason they're ending in mid game is because people just surrender it because they're like, nah, we can't beat that comp player. We can't beat an AD carry with 7 items. We can't beat an Aphelios with 7 items with a Zilean on the team. We can't beat that. We're just going to surrender. I get that a lot, where they just sort of give up because they don't want to play against you later. Then maybe they can bring the game out for 15 more minutes, but there's no point. So even though the game length is low, I think the meta is still very late.
I used to copy paste one message in the chat, like when I'm playing my Guardian Zilean, which is I'm just playing Guardian with domination tree. So I go into item cooldowns, and I'm playing Mikael's into redemption, or like the other way around, kind of what I need more. And then Shurelia's, and I usually tell my teams that I'm the best scaling champ in the game, and that I will just carry the late game, which is often the case. And
I actually don't know if I agree with that, though. I think if you're, I mean, great, feel confident. I'm all for that, and I like to think that I personally scale well with the game because I think I'm quite good at late game fights. I think that's probably my best part. But I don't think Zilean scales well into late game. That might be quite controversial to say, but I think he's actually welcome back. I think he's actually not very good in sort of very late game fights where a lot of time when you have a Zilean, maybe it's because your support it's different actually. When you play top or mid, right, you're down a threat. And that's a really big deal. Like let's say I'm top Zilean, my mid lane is, I don't know, someone like let's say a Cassio, and you have like a jungle Rek'Sai, and the late game they have 3 of the sort of Rek'Sai Cassio style champions. You're down a threat. You're down a front line, or you're down a damage dealer, because Zilean's late game damage is kind of bad unless you're really fed. But at that point, if you're really fed on Zilean, I feel like you just win, so it doesn't really get to late game. But yeah, I often find that it's so reliant on you having a hyper carry. Unless you have a hyper carry, you don't scale. You scale as well as your team scales. If your team don't scale, you don't scale. If you have like Pantheon, he just can't really work with you late game. It's not really gonna do anything for you. He doesn't do enough damage. He doesn't. If you know what I mean, right? I hope that made sense.
Yeah. But I think that's like top, maybe mid also exclusive, because I have the same impression as Biotic that like if we get to late game, I just feel like I'm an unstoppable force as the support. Like there's nothing
it is.
to do.
That's really interesting, actually. I think I've often thought about that. Is I feel sometimes like I'm the reason we're losing, and not because I'm playing bad, because my champion's bad. I think I look at the enemy Rise, and he's like doing 60k damage in a 35-minute game, and I'm doing 25k. And it's not any fault of my own, that's just a champion choice. And that's the issue. So that's where I think that often, if someone would ask me where should I play Zilean, I would tell them support. I think it's actually the best role for him. But unless you're playing very early game centric, and most of my games end between 15 and 20 minutes. 15, sorry, like early 20s, because I just go for the end really early. I play really early game focused. I go mid incredibly early. I just leave top. I never split. I don't really CS much. Just go mid, play a second support mid, take towers, take Baron, and end on Baron always. That's how I play Zilean.
It's the beauty of high elo, though. People actually know how to play like that. Low
Yeah,
elo
exactly. Very
doesn't
true.
work.
And I think the stats kind of show what you say as well. That if you look into the win rate per game length, I think Zilean is pretty much falling off in the late game.
Yes.
But many people like added me and asked me why is Zilean bad in late game, and it's like when I talked about that, I always told them, like, I'm obviously speaking about support, that many people are just playing Zilean bad. Like I think that Zilean is scaling really well in the late game, but on support, but it's really dependent on the positioning of the Zilean. Like that's like the godlike skill of Zilean support. Like you're like a race car running around and trying to peel everyone. That's how I always put it.
A good ult ends the game immediately. It really does. Like,
and like when I'm playing Mikaels and I'm exactly around my carries who gets CC'd in the second, like the Mikaels range is pretty small, and I'm instantly around and just Mikaels CC, and I just ult perfectly, like lockdown CC with people, and when I do that, I kind of feel like I'm unstoppable. And I used to actually win games against Kassadin in the full late game with Zilean. Like, I just tell them I scale better than Kassadin. Like, I outscale Kassadin.
That'd be a
with
tough
my
sell. That'd be a tough sell to convince people of that. But I
Yeah.
think as support, I could see that. And I think you're totally right about the support scaling. And I think what's interesting about the difference is you play support Zilean, you are looking to scale, because you are a bit slower to get your levels.
Yeah.
But as a mid or top Zilean, once you hit level 13, you get max Q, max E. It's like, and you have a Nautilus to play with, and a Rek'Sai jungle to play with. You're just gonna absolutely stomp over the mid game. You just E the Nautilus in, and he just runs over. He doesn't even need to land his Q anymore. He just walks up to them and autos them.
The mid game is definitely great.
You know? And that's where support Zilean, oftentimes you might not have someone to play with. You might have two carries to play with. He's not going to have someone to CC, and in mid game CC is, I would say, the best stat, because people don't have enough health to survive. They don't have enough cooldown reduction on their abilities. You know, if you just catch someone, they're just dead. In late game, you catch someone, they're going to zone you, they're going to flash out, they're going to have all these different peel opportunities, I find. Whereas that's why I think, mid Zilean, top Zilean, mid game, support Zilean, late game.
Yeah, I think we can put it that way.
Yeah, that's an interesting point though, because like you mentioned that like you synergize well with the supports, like the Nautilus and the Leonas and all that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But it's because I was gonna ask you that, because I feel like Zilean is best with the top lane kind of champions. Like I do a lot with top laners that play like Darius, Set.
Oh yeah, Darius is great. Like Darius is great. Diana is also really great. Like when you have a good Diana, you just speed in and she one shots the backline. I used to do Graves. Kindred is something which is really beautiful if played correct. Like I think maybe that's even the best option. Like when you have a Kindred who kind of farms up but hovers bot side and kind of protects. And if the ultimate is getting communicated that you just ult in catches and single target death, and Kindred tries to ult team fights, like you're never gonna lose a late game.
And here's where my playstyle, I think, kind of shows the difference here. You guys are talking about champions like Darius, or I would say most top lane champs are quite good. But this is the thing, they require gold. Top lane champs require gold, or they're actually going to be kind of useless. They're not going to do enough damage, not going to be tanky enough. Even with your R, they just won't do enough. When you're playing mid Zilean or top Zilean, you play with the support. Support doesn't require gold. You can play with a 0-4 Nautilus and it will still be disgusting. And that's my point, is it's like when you're playing as with a solo laner, they require gold. So let's say I'm playing top, my mid lane's losing. I'm off to duo with my Rammus jungle. Even if we're all losing the map, we're down. Let's say it's 7 kills to 1, which in high elo is pretty bad.
Mm.
If we often, me and my duo would just say, let's group mid as 4 or 5 even, and just ARAM it out, and you just turbo over them. Doesn't matter how much gold they have. You're playing with a Rammus, you're playing with a Nautilus, and you have a Zilean. You see them to death. You'll kill a 2-item Aurelia with like a 1-item Zilean, a 1-item Rammus, and a no-item Nautilus, because she just can't deal with all the CC. She can't deal with, it doesn't matter how fed the enemy's top laner are, mid laner. You'll just CC them to death. That's the thing. So that's where I really love playing mid or top, because you get the support always.
Like something which is also pretty unique, I think, is but I always tell people is on Zilean you can't carry a game. You can just enable a teammate to carry the
Yeah, I
game.
kind of agree with that. Yeah.
That's how I always put it on support. Like, if you have like your whole carries, like AD carry, like jungle and top mid, all of those players who play like a hyper carry champ who could carry the game, and they are bad, you lose the game.
Yeah, you lose the game.
That's what I always
dodge all the time.
tell the people, like, those games you will never win. You need someone who plays the champion, which can carry the game. We mentioned some like Darius, Diana and stuff. Like even hyper carry AD carries can do it. I think it's harder, but also
I think
possible.
it's harder too. You're absolutely right though. But some AD carries which really benefit from move speed. If they're a high mechanical AD carry, they can use move speed to completely 1v9 a fight. Like they'll just be running in and out.
Like
yeah,
Vayne
Vayne's a fun one.
AD carry, I feel for that. Like you just speed her up, just 1v9's a team fight. It's the easiest thing ever for you.
But she has to be really good to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing though, is when you have good teammates as Zilean, this is why I often ask people that. Maybe it can come across as a little bit toxic, but I never intended this way. If I have a Draven and he's 0-2 and he's like, can we just FF, as obviously all Draven players will say, I'll say to him, are you good at Draven? And he'll be like, give me a question mark. I'm like, can you play your champ well? And he'll go, yeah. And I'm like, well, we win then. If you're good at your champ, I will come enable you and we just win, because you'll just run around them and outplay them all.
Yeah, I love that. It's totally true. It's totally true.
Yeah, but it's oftentimes you look at the OPGG and you see that your 0-1 Ezreal has 7 games played and he's won one of them. And you're like, well, we've lost. Okay. Because he's just not good enough. He's not good enough to play with your kit, and that makes you useless. And that's where I get really kind of demoralized in some games, where I feel like maybe I should play a different champ. But don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but that's like actually a super clever way of getting people to try hard. Because you kind of appeal to their ego.
Yeah. I always appeal to their ego. Yeah, I do.
I should definitely adapt on that.
I'll definitely start doing that. Actually,
it's good. It's good, especially the sort of Draven players, man. They want a 1v9. That's the only thing they're playing for. If you tell them you're going to give them the opportunity to, they'll be like, maybe I will play then.
For sure.
But the toxicity on New West in higher ranges is like really insane.
That's okay. Here's a fun point about that. When do you play? What time?
It's a lot different. Like in the past, I played a lot in the night. Like I started late afternoon and played like till 6 a.m. So like the whole night. And that's like at that time Zilean is outscaled because people just they are in the night. They are hunting for the last win before they go to the bed. And if the early game goes wrong, okay, let's just FF. We go for the next one, so I can fast go to bed.
That's fun.
Like and then Zilean is just a bad champ, and now I'm playing again like during the daytime, and there are a lot of pros in queue and people who try hard on the day. And I feel like he's way better than, like, people are just chilled, like they slept and they're playing their first games of the day. And
I agree and disagree at the same time. I agree. You're better when everyone's chilled. But I think the best time to find chilled players is during the dead of night. I play with my duo usually from like 4 a.m. to like 9 a.m. just due to our schedules. We're off work at that time and we play from that time. And it's like there's so little typing at that time. People can't really be bothered. Everyone's just like kind of relaxed. I don't know. I feel like it's really chill. When I play during the afternoon, I feel like it's just toxic. Every game is so toxic.
Okay.
People are so riled up. They're so they're really trying, but that means they kind of almost get tilted more from when they're lost, because they're trying so hard, and then one guy on your team is kind of like playing bad, and they just lose their mind. At night, people are just like whatever. Maybe that's just my opinion. No, it's not as
No.
clear cut as that. It's not every game is like that, but
Yeah.
that's my
It's
experience.
just a tendency, like
Yeah, yeah.
like impression. Like,
Mhm.
some days are this way, and
I am
next
convinced
day
my
it's
win rate
different.
goes up if I play during the night.
But something all three of us like kind of agreed on is that
Mhm.
duoQ is like something which is kind of important for Zilean, because like you
Yeah.
need someone who carries the game,
Mhm.
like, and
You
you
do.
just enable.
You need it. You need it. Like really
And
need
if
it.
you, like I used to do in the past time with Tikis, like a really good jungler
Mhm.
who just plays farming junglers, and if I peel him, I know he will just carry the game.
Yep.
And then Zilean feels really easy to play. Like in those games, and the next games when he goes to bed and I'm just soloQ, and it's a hot mess.
It's a mess. I totally agree. You get I'm like, because what happens with me when I play with my duo, like I said, I always do the Rammus. He doesn't only play Rammus, but mostly. Like, he'll sometimes play Hecarim or even something else, right? But if I'm playing with him and the game goes bad, we always have this thing of when I get Ludens and like 40% CDR, and he gets Cinderhulk, Moby's Bramblevest, we just win.
Yep.
We just win like 90% of games from there. As long as we have at least one guy who's not running it, our bot lane could be 0-8 and we'll still win. As long as the enemies don't have loads of counters picks as well, which we would just dodge that. But it gives me such like good confidence to have a duo that I know I can play around, because it doesn't make, even if I lose early, I feel like it's fine, we can play later. When I'm solo queue, a lot of time I'm like, my team are just gonna give up. I can't, and they're not gonna know how to play with me. I'm gonna E them and they just stand still. They don't go in, and that is so I feel demoralized. So when you play with a duo, I feel like you get the sort of extra, I don't know, confidence of playing. That's a big thing for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, another underrated thing about a duo, like, I mean, one thing is you get twice the dodges, which is always
Yes,
good.
very good.
It's
Yeah.
it's also like much more, like much easier to kind of dictate the plays your team will do if you're two people like pinging
Yeah.
for it or trying to
Like
do it.
having a strong opinion on doing something on the map. Like we do this, and you instantly move. Like people tend to follow. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
really
for
nice.
sure.
Would you agree that Zilean has? It's kind of said already, but would you agree that Zilean has low agency by himself? That he's a bit maybe even too reliable on having a carry in your team, rather than being able to carry by himself.
No, I would say no. I think
Yeah.
you can, especially if you're fed. In the games where I'm fed, it's not that often. It does happen though. It's usually if I get a filled mid. Like I get a filled Silas, and that's a great one. They have no idea what they're doing. They've never played the lane before. They think it's free, and they die once, and the lane's over. They can never do anything ever again because they're a melee champ. They'll just get bombed out. And if you get fed, you get like a Ludens early. And I know I always feel Ludens, but not everyone does. But if you get Ludens early with like sort boots, you literally 100 to 0 their AD carry. You QWQ them, corrupting thought, Airy, auto attack them, and they're dead. They have to heal, or they're dead. And that level of power that you have in the mid game is enough to end. So I think you actually can play without teammates if you're fed, but you need to be fed. He doesn't actually work if you're not fed. He doesn't do enough damage. I don't think.
I think as a support, like it's I have a lot of success in solo queue as well, but like it is a support after all, so you do need people to play, because like my experience is like I just played like a couple of games on my brother's account, which was like gold at the time, I think, and like it was impossible to win on Zilean. I think I lost like 3 games in a row or something.
It's
It was
smurfing so hard.
Yeah, it was an absolute disaster. Like
Yeah, you just need to go AP.
Yeah, you have to go full AP,
Yeah.
and even then, I don't like smurfing on Zilean. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard. I just play a different champ.
I like duoQ smurfing actually, but soloQ it's unplayable. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
you Q smurfing, of course, but that's even easier because you just give your very high elo friend
Yeah. You just
an
do it
extra
just-
life.
Yeah, you can just 2v8 basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And
But
you
no,
get
I
away
agree.
with stuff you shouldn't, and yeah.
Yep, totally agree. And you get away with lanes for free that you shouldn't on Zilean all the time.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Like if you do Q Smurf, you will win with almost any champion. So.
Well, not for me, but yeah. You put me on some champs. You put me on Kiana, I will not win any games in like even plat 4. You know.
I don't know what was. I think the highest win rate I ever got was like 92% masters with like duoQ Zilean Kane on US.
Zilean Kane. That sounds fun. Yeah.
That's just like when you play this and you and your duoQ mate are both focused, you can win every game. Like the games we dropped, we kind of we knew, okay, we did this bad and this was not perfect. Because we knew, like, it doesn't matter if all of our teammates go AFK, we can still win the game.
Mhm.
Like,
I agree. I don't really smurf though very often,
Yeah.
so I actually don't have too much of an opinion on that. Very rarely a Zilean. I usually just do it to like practice with the champs or play with friends. So
but to come back to the question, I
Mhm.
think that's also something which is unique about Zilean, that he's just the enabler, and that's something that is Zilean, and I think he shouldn't really carry games solo. That would make, like, you have to change something about the kit to make that happen, and I think that's not Zilean for me. Like,
And I
he's
think
the
that's
enabler
really
for me.
and I think that's really the beauty of the champion. I think that's why he hasn't been changed in like 5 years, because like people don't really notice him. Like you'll see
Mhm.
like the games where I play with my duo plays Darius, and he will just like absolutely 1v9 and just pentakill like 3 times in a row, and we win the game. People are just like, "Ah, Darius is a stupid champ."
Yeah, it's always
Yeah,
Yeah, it's always the guy you're
exactly.
enabling is the god, and you're just the Zilean in the back. It's like,
Yeah, they
hey.
don't realize that you like Mikhail's him, so they couldn't slow. He was running in at like 1,000
Yeah.
movement speed. He resurrected every fight. Like
Mhm.
they don't pay attention to that. So he's
You're
just like
always the guy in the background. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. That's a funny thing to say. Actually, that's definitely there's no Zilean plays. Honestly, really, there's very few. Like I've played 1 million matches, and I've played since like season 2. I have maybe one clip I made of Zilean because there's nothing cool he does really. There's like funny stuff, but there's nothing particularly cool. And there's no big outplays. It's just, oh, you landed your ult, you sped
Yeah.
the guy, and he did the
think,
cool
like,
play.
Also, a Zilean montage would look like really weird.
It would look like you speeding in Aphelios and him getting a pentakill.
Like,
Yeah, I could go in the Aphelios montage instead.
Yeah, you're just really consistent in peeling, and
Yeah. Mhm.
like there's one play you can make on Zilean, which is so satisfying when you pull off. It's like when you bomb yourself and you throw a bomb on the enemies, you
Yeah,
flash
yeah,
into it,
yeah.
yeah.
then they get stunned.
I love doing
Like
that. I love doing that.
yeah,
It's really
same.
fun.
It's like you always get like 10 question mark pings, and it's like
Actually, really useful in top lane because here's a good thing about mechanics actually with Zilean. I think a lot of people don't do, and if there are people who play Zilean who maybe aren't as experienced, I mean even you guys, I don't know, but there are the best way if you're playing top lane to land bombs against most players in high low. Like you're playing against high low players, they'll just dodge all your bombs. It's so difficult to land. They're just good players. Without
Really?
your E, you're never going to hit bombs
Yeah.
really,
Okay.
unless you're playing like like a madman really. You can do it, but it's really difficult. Versus like a Jax, he'll just queue every time. Versus Aurelia, he'll just queue minions every time. You queue on the ground, pick them up, and walk them at them. I always do that all the time, and it's like, yeah, they can melee you, but you can stun on yourself immediately after, and they can't dodge. It gives them no agency to dodge at all. Whereas if you try and queue them and they flash it, you're done because that's your only ability, and it's only going to be up in the next 8 seconds, which in top lane is you're dead. So for something in top lane, try not waste your bombs on enemies. Is something I see a lot. I have a few Zilean friends that I play with. And when they play Zilean, they just like double bomb the enemy, and the guy just like flashes it and they're dead. And they just leave the
Yeah.
bombs on the ground. If you miss double bomb, go pick them up and run them at them. And it's
That's
stunned
like
still. Like
the worst
all
thing
the
is when you're in a fight and minions pick up your bombs.
Yes,
Like,
that's so
and
tragic.
they're fighting the minions. Like, obviously, I always like when I'm resetting, I'm always bombing the wave so the enemies can't
Mhm.
freeze it,
Yeah,
or they tank the bombs and stuff, like
yeah.
stuff you can do, just like make it, like, let the bombs do the work for you.
That's so good.
But
I think there's so many things you could talk about bombs and
yeah,
minions. Yeah, it's such an
and
intricate mechanic.
but like in botlane 2v2, I would say actually like 80% of the times in 2v2s on botlane, I put the bombs on me, like the first one on me,
Mhm.
and the second bomb I throw on the enemy and just flash. That's
Yeah.
like for me it's like 80% of the times, because
It's
in Challenger
really,
Grandmaster
yeah.
games everyone will flash a double bomb into V2s.
Yeah, everyone
Everyone
flashes
will.
double bomb. There's no
Like
way you can land that.
they
Yeah.
don't flash away. They flash into you because they know
Yeah.
you have cooldowns,
Yeah, you're nothing. You're
and you just
you're a
get
Zilean with no Q. Exactly. Yeah.
you just get ripped.
Mhm.
Like, but when you start your combo with an E slow, the first bomb on you, the second one on the opponent, and after the stun is gone, you just slow the enemy AD carry again.
Mhm.
Your ADC will do so much DPS in that time, and yeah, that's like the only way to yeah, it's really easy to outplay Zilean, like in this bomb mechanic.
Yeah.
Like,
it can make you look really bad. Actually, you can get pinged a lot for like missing bombs, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to hit this guy with bombs? It's like he's just obviously going to dodge them all. It's so slow. It's so obvious. It's like unless you have them slowed, it's on them to dodge it. Really, if you know.
Like in lane, I hit like every bomb just because I'm only bombing the enemy AD carry while he's farming. Like when he's
Yes,
going,
very
like
true, very true.
you always look for last hits. Like and when you
Mhm.
see on can minion, you always do that. Like on can minions, you can even use a double bomb. Like
Yep.
you have to always see like, oh, is it worth using this mana for the HP trade or not?
Mhm.
But even on melee minion last hits, like the enemy AD carry is locking himself in auto attack animation, and you
Mhm.
just throw a bomb and he can't dodge it.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
there's no way.
Yeah,
Like
that's such,
immobile champs.
yeah, that is such a good tip. Use it all the time when I play brand support too. Just W
Yeah.
when they go for last hits.
Soraka does the same, and like
Yeah.
all these champs that just harass the AD carry while he's farming, and it's making him really impressive. And I really hope like I played him in the past with Comet, like with the old Shurelias, which had some AP,
Mhm.
and it was so impressive in lane. Like you just bombed people, and you could kind of play him in a poke style, and that kind of died out sadly. Like with the Shurelias change, I don't really know what to build in lane to make him viable as poke.
Yes, I think
I
support
think it's really
Zilean,
bad.
he eats too much gold. There's only have the gold for
Yeah.
his support, and as mid, yeah, you don't really poke either. It's not really like if you're landing Qs, you're not poking them out; they're just dead. I find like you're not. It's not like Xerath where he lands one Q and that's that. If you're landing a Q, it's probably because you got another Q coming and they're slowed, and that's
Right.
usually them dead from my experience. I don't have too many times where I feel like I'm poking them out and then you get objectives because they're low. That's not something I really recall, you know?
Yeah.
For items, I'd like to talk about items again, mainly in mid. I think top lane is a weird one as well. There are people who play like tank style Zileans. I have never played that and don't
it's
really
fun,
understand it. Okay, well I have played it maybe like a few times. I just
Because
think
you
it's
won't do a
kind
lot of damage,
of
and
pointless. I don't really understand the point in it. I think
like
it's just that it's very safe, but you don't need to be safe. You have an ult that revives you.
like what means tanky? Like the build I go sometimes is when I'm playing top lane and I'm playing against tanks and easy punishable matchups in the PTA thingy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Nashos into GLP,
Yeah.
and then I go tank item.
It's total
Because
madness.
you
It's
do
a
enough
madness
damage,
build. Yeah.
and
No,
you
it's a
won't
sick
really
build. Yeah, it's a sick build.
like
It's
with
just
the rune is not really supporting your AP, like your burst or stuff.
mm-hmm.
So like you're doing more damage the way that you just survive longer with your PTA, and you're just like a madman attacking the
No, it's
opponent.
actually
Like
really cool, and I've actually never tried it, but I need to. And I think that I'm definitely not against that build. There are builds I am against. I think, and we can talk about this. I'd love to talk about this. I made a Reddit post about it as well. I think Roa is unbuyable on Zilean. Like I
oh
think it's
yeah, really?
actually if you're buying it, it would be like buying it on Zed. It's equally as bad as it is on Zilean as on Zed. You're
That's a
just
bold state.
it's just a terrible item on Zilean. It gives him none of the stats he wants at all.
Man, you're
I'd love
exposing
to
me.
hear
I
your
used to
opinion
play
on
that.
it.
I used to play that on top lane,
Mhm.
like with Eri,
Mhm.
just because like I felt really weak when I played my Glacial, like just GLP into Twin Shadows top lane. I just felt weak. I don't know why. And then I started building. I went Glacial, and I just went Rod of
Mhm.
Ages into GLP into Twin Shadows,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I felt like I was a bit tanky. I had a
Okay.
really great mana pool, like Rod of Ages into GLP. You have infinite mana
Yep.
to like bomb all the time. You can
Mhm.
speed yourself through the river when you want to,
Mhm.
and if infinite mana.
Okay, but what we're talking about here is you're talking about 3 items Zilean top. And
Yeah.
I would say to you, from my experience, that doesn't happen. I don't get 3 items on top Zilean very often. Maybe that's because my playstyle. But if your playstyle is to farm it out, freeze waves maybe, or just play for your own lane and just push all the time, go for CS mostly, I think that's not what the point of Zilean, and you should be playing Jax instead. Because a farming Zilean side lane is you should be playing a different champ, and that's why I don't understand that build. It doesn't really make sense to me. I feel like you're now in a position where you should be Tryndamere, or you should be Jax, or you should be insert a champ that if they get 3 items, like a Kale doing what you're doing on Zilean, they are completely unstoppable with 3 items. Zilean with 3 items is just, as you say, feels quite good.
It's great in teamfight, yeah.
It feels quite good. It does, but it's like a bit. There are other champs which will do way more in the same situation that I feel like I'm not sold. Also, his top matchups are sometimes horrible in the fact where you can't play them later, and you don't want to lane against them later. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, you just need a couple of AP to just clear the waves, and you kind of try to stop them from
So
pushing.
basically,
just by
if you're
clearing
building
waves.
Roa, you're trying to play a style where you're one of the big carries. Is that the point? Or I'm not entirely sure what the point is of it.
Like I felt really bad on top lane matchups. That's why I stopped kind of playing like the full freeze one, like
Yeah.
GLP into Twin Shadows, because when I was against Jax and he gets his blade, it happened a couple of times that I got one shot, like, and I was like, I even missed my ult. And I was like, I'm dead. I got stunned, and he does auto attack, double auto attack, and with the Q, and I'm full F one shot. And I was like, okay, how do you deal with that? Like the simple way is just getting defensive stats. A lot of edges gives me like defensive stats.
Exactly what I'm talking about. It's your solution to like a Jax lane being difficult, and this is what a lot of people are.
That's why you do see. I banned, by the way.
Really? Okay, I think, and this is okay. Maybe it's just I've played the matchup like hundreds of times, but I think that's very playable. It's losable, but it's very playable. Like many champions have playable and losable matchups, right?
Yeah.
I think the wrong response to losing a matchup is to build defensive. Imagine if you're playing Riven, and you're like, man, I hate Renekton. I'm just gonna build Randuin's first and never die. It'd be like, well, okay, but now you're Randuin's Riven, and I think it's the same thing with Zilean a lot of times. People are like, I've heard this. I hate playing against Quinn, let's say. Just build a Frozen Heart first. She can't kill you. And it's like, well, now you're Frozen Heart Zilean. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand that as a solution. And I think a lot of people have that as a solution because they think, oh, Zilean's a bit weird. You can kind of build whatever. But I think you're directly nerfing your champion by not building AP or utility items like GLP. I think GLP is great. I personally don't build it, but I think it's really good. I think if you're going a first item, tank item, or Roa, you're reducing your champion's strengths because, and I don't mean this to sound rude, because you're bad.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I also coached like Fnatic on the Zilean Zenna bot lane, and I suggested the Rod of Ages build for Hylisan, like, because he was not comfort on Zilean, and I feel like Rod of Ages is an item which makes Zilean play like he's way easier to play like with some defensive stats. Like people struggle with his positioning, who not play him a lot. Like I think we later come to the point with proplay, so I should kind of delay that point. But Rod of Ages is just you get away with mistakes a bit more, in my opinion. That's why I build it. Like when I'm off roll and I feel like, okay, this is good. But I honestly have no clue about that on top lane, about item value and stuff. And also my CDR often lags on top lane, and then I feel like
it's quite
that I feel just really bad because Zilean feels really weird without CDR.
Well, this is the thing. You build Roa on Zilean.
And Roa has no CDR.
No CDR in it. And I think that the biggest power spike of Zilean is I often just go a Fiendish Codex without an item just to get the 10%. I go Transcendence, so I go Ludens, get the Transcendence, Sork Boots for damage if I'm like the only AP, it's really good. Or I just go CDR Boots and I go Fiendish Codex. 40% at like, that's about 15-ish to 20 minutes, unless you're really fed. And then you just group mid. You ignore top, let whatever top lane is going top, just stay there. He has to come down with you, and now you're sharing XP. Let's say the enemy Renekton is mid, he's sharing XP with the mid laner, because he has to roam down because you're there. You're sharing XP, but that's better for you. And I think that's the kind of mindset you want to be in. When you're building Roa, you're lower CDR, which is your worst team fighting, you're tankier, but people don't really focus Zilean, because once he's ulted, he's actually, I don't know, it's a mixed bag of focusing Zilean and not focusing him, I think. How do you feel like you're focused? That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually positioned behind my backline. I
Mhm.
always put it like that way. Like when I'm playing support Zilean, like it took me like a couple of years to actually position correct on Zilean. I think I started with like 30% win rate because I played on like a average support and like
Mhm.
standing in the backline. But people just when you play against backline dive comps, they will always be on you.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's why I think positioning is the greatest skill of a Zilean player, in my opinion.
See, I love this. You said positioning is the greatest skill of the Zilean player, and I'm like, half my games I'm frontlining. I swear I'm frontlining. I'm like, I run in, I'm eating them in their face and going for catches. I love going for catches. I love sort of playing in the front style, and if they all in you, you just ult yourself. And then a lot of time, if they're all inning
Oh, I
you,
never ult myself. Never.
ult yourself.
Like
Ever, ever.
when I ult myself, I really want to quit the game and like, oh man, you just lost the game.
Oh, in a
Like,
team fight like later, absolutely true. I hate
Yeah.
ulting myself. I used to back in season like 6, 7. I booed GA second like every
like
game.
even when people like use 2 flashes on you and you have to ult that way, I still feel bad because I could just expect them to flash and CC me.
See, this is where I love your mindset. You're saying if I have to ult myself, I'm badly positioned. If I have to ult myself, should have expected they flash at me. And then we're still in the mindset of maybe let's build a tank item, maybe let's build a Roa. And it's like if you're good, you shouldn't need defensive items because you're never in a position to get caught if you're playing like that, right?
Yeah. That's like top lane for me. Like I want to approach the wave, and there's just someone jumping on me, just one shotting me. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a totally
Man,
different thing.
let me grab this wave.
But
And-
this is the thing I love about it. Is a lot of people have this conversation with people who
But
don't play
that's just
Zilean.
me going off roll. Like I'm off roll, and
Yeah, I
so
get it, I get it. But they say, won't you just get frozen out by like insert champion? Won't you just they freeze you out and you can't do anything? I'm like, you can actually break a freeze from over the wall sometimes. So if you're in the bush in top lane, in like the one near river, right, and
Yeah.
you're queuing over towards the tower, you can just clear it from over the wall if they're trying to freeze. And it's the most
Yeah.
toxic thing ever. Is they're trying to set up a freeze, they're trying to play the game properly, and you break the freeze from over the wall. You get all the XP because your bombs kill them. You don't even need to be in range. You just walk mid,
Oh.
and it's like the most.
And you have move prior and the.
And this is where you can play against horrible matchups by ignoring the fact they're freezing you out because you just break the freeze every time.
Okay,
You
that's
just go mid.
great. That's great. I have to keep that in mind when I'm next time top lane.
Yeah, it's super funny. You can break the freeze from miles away, and especially if you put the bombs on the minions and they walk in the wave. But you talked about that before. That's
So
something
the
you can do as
update,
well.
so the item build you would suggest is Ludens into double magic pen.
I think if you're the only AP and your team needs damage, and you go Luden's double magic pen, you're actually going to be one-shotting a lot of the time. I think most of the time I do not do that. I usually go. I just build for the game. I think there is no
Yeah.
usual build for me. I build
Like Ludens
banshees.
always.
I would always go Ludens. Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
think there's never a
we have
game where I
this
went
one.
Ludens.
Like in boots, you have. Yeah, for me, it's like most of the time CDR actually, but I see definitely usage for double magic pen. Like when
Yeah, I
there's
build.
squishies and
I
you have the
think it's
only AP
about
damage, it's definitely good.
It's about 50-50. I go CDR boots or sword boots.
Yeah.
I would say it's half of games would be one or the other.
Like on top
Sometimes I
and
go like Merc Dreads. Very rarely though. Like that's not often.
I would never go defensive boots. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what was the comp I was against? I was against Nidalee, Corky, Karma, Janna, Jax, and I built Mercs.
Yeah.
They're
But
just
that's
all
like
AP, all engaged, lol CC.
like when you play mid, you kind of have to do damage. Like that's your role, so you can't really be like the peel machine, which you cannot support.
But this is the thing. In this game, I had a top Jace, I had a Fed Kai'Sa, and I have a Rammus jungle with the Nautilus. And in that game, I feel like I can play a second support.
Yeah,
If
right.
I felt like I needed damage, like my top laner was a tank, I would never do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
would agree on that.
Like, yeah, that's true. Like generally, like most of the times, you kind of have to do some damage on mid.
I think you're really right though, and I would love to. I think what I need to improve on the most is when I'm playing mid, is having more CS and having more items because I'm actually required to deal damage. I think that's why I lose a lot of games that I don't need to lose because I just don't have enough items. I'm an item down on the enemy mid most games, but that's just the way I'm playing. It's usually okay. I often give CS to the jungler, things like that, because I'm just like, just take it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point that you make, and I think that's something I need to work on.
regarding like item builds and stuff, I feel like I almost like basically every single game I go for Zhonya's second item on Zilean. Like maybe it is like a band-aid to like a kind of poor positioning, but I feel like it's like super good item because like it just prevents the whole like people focusing you instead of the carry, because then you can just save your ult for them and just Zhonya's when like their Rengar jumps on you and shit like that.
Interesting. I think
Yeah.
Zonya's is an item I'm upset about buying. Every
Yeah.
time I buy it, I'm very upset about it. But I'm like, fine, I'll buy it. But it's interesting.
It's an
What do you
item
think
I
about it?
only buy when I'm really ahead.
That's interesting as well. I usually build it when the enemies have like multiple AD assassin threats, not usually much else I'll build it against. And it's not necessarily for the active, it's just to have an item that has armor and AP on it. The active, I find on Zilean is kind of bad sometimes because your champion doesn't have a dash. He doesn't have a way to quickly, after the Zhonya's get out. He just has to E himself, but sometimes you're Eing and you just get slowed. And it's just like, okay, I'm dead again. And you have no real way to put yourself out. You have no defensive after your ult. So I'm not a big fan of Zhonya's because a lot of them just die instantly. So
Yeah, that's what I also think about. Like,
yeah.
Really?
But-
I have like the complete opposite. I feel like so many times like I've had like I'm 1v5, I Zhonya's. If I have flash, I just flash and I E and I just run away from 5 people. It's, I don't know, I feel like it's so valuable. But it was a very interesting point from Biotic that like you focus, like your positioning is like much further back than mine is, for example. So maybe I just have a positional error and I should be playing even more back.
That's like the biggest problem I noticed when I started playing Zilean, that I saw like, okay, like there were many team fights you had to ult yourself and you couldn't get the value out of your champ that you should have, like getting 3 full combos, like 6 E's in a team fight, or like getting 10 E's. It's a big difference. And just thought like, okay, you're pretty squishy, so like it obviously has value when you get focused and people use spells against you, and like you always have to see like how much value do you get from getting focused, from dying right now, and from staying alive. And like on Zilean, it's like I'm many team fights, I'm the last one living actually, and that's something I should work on. That when the team fight is going on, and like I have maybe one carry left alive, then I should go in. And then often don't do that, and then I'm the last one surviving, and that is really bad. Because
That's
I can't clear wave
interesting,
with Guardian Zilean. Like then the peel machine is alive, but and we lost the team fight, then I'm not really able to clear the wave, so it wasn't useful that I was the one living. And
See, that's really interesting because I think I play in the complete opposite way. I do think that you're right. In late game fights, I'm often the one alive. That's very true. I think the way I play late game is a bit different. But mid game and early late game. Do any of you play CS:GO by the way? At all? Ever?
No.
All right. Okay. Well, there's a term in that game called entry fragging. What it means is you run in and kill yourself on purpose, so the guy behind you can kill. And that's what I do on Zilean. Is you run it like a Renekton, you E him and double bomb him, and his initial reaction is often to E at you and just one shot you. You ult yourself, he kills you in your ult, and then he dies to your carry behind you. And that's where I like to play frontline, and that's where I use my ult myself quite a lot.
But then I think
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you should go on. That's all.
Well, I was gonna say, basically, hyper late game that doesn't work as well, but in the mid game that works really well because oftentimes the enemies can't use enough, they don't have enough damage to just immediately kill you after you respawn without dying to your carries, and you just get to walk away for free. And oftentimes with their Renekton dying, they just don't have enough left with their comp, and they'll just walk away and they'll just let that happen. And I find that happens a lot. You can bait with your face, especially against someone like top laners or mid laners that love to just one-shot you because they think they're outplaying you. But you ult, and then they're like, oh, I'm actually dead. So that's where I really like to play up.
Like, the point I wanted to make is like the sacrifice play. I really love this idea, and that's what I'm doing. But I sacrifice a teammate to run in and trade 1-for-1, and I ult him, and I'm still in the fight. Like I can keep on peeling and
Yeah, I do both. You're right, actually. You sacrifice a teammate. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Okay.
And I think that is, for me, that is always better than sacrificing myself.
I think you're right. But this is the problem,
because I'm
right?
playing like
Mhm.
30 to 40% CDR, so like
Mhm.
I'm like always throwing bombs, like always speeding in the team fight and getting so many spells out. So
I think that you're right. If you can get a play where one of your, especially a sort of AoE damage dealer or bruiser, can go in so close of damage and you ult them last second, that's often how you win a fight. Is they cannot kill him again. They can't kill your set again. They just can't. They don't have enough damage anymore. They've used it all on him, and he's reviving with like a good half HP at least, and he's just gonna. And yeah, all his spells are ticking while he's dead. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
yeah, they're standing around him and they just
Mhm.
like closely before he is revived again. I throw double bomb, so like in the team fight when people try to they ping like this guy is getting revived, we focus him,
Yeah,
and I'm getting like
yeah.
three people stunned with the double
Yeah,
bomb.
yeah, exactly. See, this is where I duel with my Ramus, right? He does this all the time. I Q him, I E him, he just runs into the entire enemy team, usually 1-for-1s with someone, but I ult him, and then there's just a Ramus reviving in the middle of their team, and it's like, they can't just ignore that.
Yeah.
But they also can't really kill him, because they've just killed a full tank Ramus, so they're gonna have to kill him again, and that's a nightmare, and that's where I love so that kind of play, right, where you sacrifice a teammate I think it is better, but I think it
That's like
requires a lot more team synergy, and I find sometimes depends on the elo I'm in. Honestly, when I'm higher LP, I find that I can do that more often. Sometimes you're lower LP, it can be really tough actually, and that's where I play more suicide style. You know.
I'm spam pinging and writing a lot recently, just like this way that I tell people how to play the team fight, like
Yeah.
because I want them to
Yeah.
sacrifice them, and I obviously ult,
Mhm.
and like I forced them onto this place, and
Yeah.
because people are not aware of that, and just try to lead the team fight macro in these ways. And I think like playing Zilean without speaking and pinging is way harder than with like.
I think you're trolling. It's not even harder. It's like that's so bad. I ping my ult like 100 times a game. I think.
Like your teammate, you have to like I'm speaking for like I've been challenged like the most time this last season, and like people in this elo are still not aware what your champion does. That's what I want to spread out to every Zilean main in which elo you are. Your teammates will not be aware of your champion.
Yeah,
That's
you
just a
need to tell
fact.
them. You're
So
absolutely right.
you are like you can't blame like your teammates. Oh man, they're not going in. How can I climb with Zilean? You have to actively tell them and make them aware what you can do and show them. Like that's how you win with
See, that's
Zilean.
interesting. Is you have your win condition, right? And this is where it comes down to specific win conditions. And I like to hear more about how you guys try and win games. When I'm in a game where I'm strong, like I get a lane kill, maybe I get a gank, I'm 2-0, I'm up plates. That's a really strong position for me to be in top lane. And I'll write group mid with me as 5 will just end. And it sounds ridiculous, and I even type that. This sounds stupid, but guys, just come as 5 mid. There's nothing that they can do. Support, use my speed, get catches, we win. There's really nothing they can do anymore because I'm too fed. I can just ult you when you dive. They don't have enough damage to kill you through ult. Things like that. And that would be my win condition. I think that's very different to a lot of other players' win conditions, but I do that a lot and it wins a lot. And you can get a lot done when you group. I would like to know what you try and plan for as support, though. Like, what's your ideal situation in the early game, early mid game?
For me, it's like I play safe to like level 6, like preferably 0, 0, 0 to level 6. That's perfect. Always like ward deep in the river and stuff, so that I don't get like ganked. And then after that, I try to roam after level 6, because it's very easy to get like a mid lane kill, like when you come back from lane or something, drop a control ward in the river, and then look for a gank mid. If not, just like I usually try to just not lose the game. I feel like often is my mentality, and then I just like get picks with twin shadows and stuff, or just win 2v2s after I get ultimate bot lane.
Yeah, like I feel like you win most of the 2v2s after level 6, and that's like always the surprise moment. And I feel like when I'm playing against the same AD carry like twice or 3 times in a row, just by matchmaking, people kind of get used to it and they get scared. Like because when
They do
people
get
play the
experience, yeah.
first time against me, and I have a not bad AD carry, until level 6, I will just farm, and on level 6 I will sometimes when they played like they did before, I just do a flash E slow, like the first bomb and then the second bomb, and they just die. And I tell my AD carry before that he can just go frontline, he can go melee range, doesn't matter, and he gets revived, and we just win the 2v2. No matter what, it's very easy like to execute, and people get surprised, and that's why I get often a lead.
I think that is a really good point though that you made. It's a small one. It's really easy to execute. I think that's a really true thing. When I play a lot of support Zilean, I find wow, we just killed them both. That was really easy. There's
After
not really
level
much
6,
to
yeah.
it. Like yeah, when you just like walk in and you just slow them and then you Q and it lands and they flash just as it lands, and you're like, oh well, you're dead because I can just W and Q you again, and the AD carry just 100-0s them in the stun, and it's like, oh well, that was easy.
And the more competitive way to do that, which works better against people I played frequently against and with, and they kind of got used to what Zilean does, which sometimes happens, like people I meet, more often. Then it doesn't work like that. They just try to stomp you as hard as they can pre-6, and then they go really far behind and kind of play safe. And then you have to ping your jungle and tell them, yo, if you want to invade, let's go. We can just skirmish. Like 3v3 is always win. And you're telling your jungler who's maybe in a losing matchup, you can just freely invade bot side, and I will just follow, and with my ultimate we will always win the skirmish, like 3v3 and stuff.
Really interesting, actually. I find that his like post 6, sort of like 6 to 9 area of the game, the bot lane fights are so good for you.
Yeah.
If you like play it well, and this is where I love toplane Zilean as well, because you just TP into it. I TP into bot lane all the time. Like every game, I'm TP into bot lane. I don't really ever use TP for my own lane. I don't really care.
No.
And that's where I think it's really strong, because you can play a top laner who doesn't care that he's missing CS, doesn't care that you're not getting XP or whatever. You just DP bot and you play bot for like 2 full minutes. And you just gank bot and you dive and you take the tower and you just waste everyone's time, and you get the dragon for your team. Sure, you're losing top, maybe you lose some plates, but I feel like overall you're playing for the team, and if you're playing on a different champ, that can really set you back a lot of times. You're TPing for that long, but on Zilean, doesn't matter.
And in addition, you're kind of attacking the attitude of the enemy bot lane as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Like they are just probably writing in team chat, yo, what is going on top? That the Zilean can just combat.
I love that though. People often think that top Zilean's a complete troll pick still, even though people have played it.
How can he win lane that he's coming bot? Like, no, he's not winning lane, he's just leaving.
Yeah. How do you lose lane to Zilean as insert champ is what I get like every second game in all chat from the enemy AD carry or whatever. Report my Renekton, he lost to Zilean. And I'm like, you play the matchup and you'll see that it's not as easy as you think. Like, it's actually really annoying. So, yeah.
Definitely a thing, yeah.
Also, his passive really supports that playstyle, because you don't really
we've not even talked about his passive, actually.
Oh, that's cool, because I have a really strong opinion on the passive.
Me too, me too.
You should talk first, I think.
All right, my opinion on the passive is I think it's completely broken. I think that the way I play the game,
no way,
it makes my play style work. So I leave my lane all the time, I lose XP all the time, and I walk to my jungler and I perfectly level him using all the XP. So around like level 7, you can give him like 500 XP. They're level 8. If that's on a head jungler, they're like 2 levels up in the enemy jungle. And that can just end a game. Honestly, it sounds dumb, 1 level, but it just makes them that much stronger to where they can make these kind of dive plays. I'm playing with Rammus, right? That's an extra point in his taunt. That's an extra CC duration on his taunt. So if you have champions to level, like a Vigar as well is a good one, who needs to hit that maxed ability, it's really powerful, I think. And it's especially good if you're sharing XP a lot as like a top laner. And I find that I don't drop levels with the enemy top laner, even when I leave my lane and I'm down CS. That's my opinion. Quite positive, I know, and maybe you don't like it, but I would like to hear your opinion.
I think you must be strong now, but I think, like, my opinion is my win rate would actually be like raising when you just delete the passive. Like, I think actually Zilean without this passive is even better than with, because
trolls you. It does troll you. It's
yeah, it does. Like when I'm attack moving, like that should just be deleted. That by
Yeah, it should,
attack
yeah.
move, the passive giving XP to your teammates is triggered. That's like the worst thing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm attack moving to an opponent and I'm randomly leveling people in teamfight and standing
Random
still,
leveling
it's like,
so bad.
and then
Yeah.
I die sometimes.
You should be able
I
to
just-
toggle it. Yeah.
I think like just delete this passive, man. It's not doing anything. Like this
Mm-hmm.
it's for me it's so few XP. Like on bot lane, it's like when the enemy is slow pushing, I can give a level, so we're even level, even though the enemies have like
It's funny.
main
level
advantage, but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it doesn't matter. Like
Right. Here's a counterpoint. Okay. Absolutely, the thing in teamfights, that's like, I feel like that's almost a bug. It's not a bug. It's a game feature, but it's a bad game feature to the point
Yeah.
where it's
I
you know,
told
when I'm
that-
in a
that should
team fight,
be
I'm
that.
playing really well, I'm really concentrating, and all of a sudden I'm CC'd by my own passive.
Like
And I'm like,
Like-
why am I allowed to use this? Yet sometimes when I'm in the jungle walking about, it's on a 10-second cooldown for no reason. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what just happened to put this on a cooldown?
I
don't understand.
think that's when people hit your wards.
Really?
Yeah, because sometimes it just goes randomly on cooldown for me too, but I'm very sure that's when they attack your wards.
because I'm always moving with attack move just
Mhm.
because
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm locking on other lanes while I'm moving through river, and that way I notice pink wards.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, makes sense.
and
It's clever.
that's just a like I don't really look on my champ when I'm moving because I want to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
how the lane states are and how the wave states are, and if this lane is gankable and roamable, and how the lanes will turn out like the next waves. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of predict the wave control.
Yep.
And like there's no scenario ever you want to level someone with attack move. That's
No,
what I told
I
Riot Games.
think that
Like never
yeah.
ever there will you be a player in this world who levels someone with attack move. Like you will always click someone. That is like if like the on passive upgrading items would work with attack move. It's just stupid.
It doesn't make any
No
sense.
one does
Yeah.
that.
If
They should just delete it.
right, the thing is, so we don't like the passives mechanics, but you've not really talked about the actual, the ability. How good do you think it is?
I think it's a big placebo passive. Like I think it's really not doing anything. Like I never really thought about how much XP it is.
Mm-hmm. So I think
Um,
about it every game, and here's an example of where it's really strong, right? So once again, I'll be
Mhm.
playing with my duo, and it doesn't matter if I'm necessarily playing with my duo or not. You play with the jungler, right? Jungler ganks your lane, you get a kill. Awesome, that's really good. I let him take the wave. He takes the wave, and that also pushes in, so that's really good for me because Zilean sucks pushing. Usually after a kill as well. They push in the wave. They get like the level. Let's say they like level 3 gank your lane, and they take the wave. They're usually, and then you can level them to 4. And it's this kind of difference in the early game where the enemy jungler would normally be level 4 to your jungler level 3, but now you're actually evened level because you let them take part of your wave and level them. And also, so that's one example of where I think it's really good. That's just playing lane Zilean, though, specifically. Another example in lane Zilean it's really good. The higher level you get, the more XP you get. So if you're a top laner, you're going to get it ticking higher. If you're support, you're lower level, it's going to be worse. I think maybe on support Zilean, that's why it's worse, because you just get less XP. If you're
Yeah.
ahead as a top laner, you can start turbo leveling some people. It's crazy, like because you're just getting so much XP, and it scales up like exponentially as well. The more levels you get, the more it's going to give you. So it's not just like +2 every level. It's like
yeah, I feel like
yeah.
on top and mid it does something. Like I'm collecting way more XP, and it feels like
It's because you're
it
high
feels
level.
like I'm
Because you're high level. That's the only the reason is because it scales with level. And also, I think the only person you really want to be leveling in the mid game is your jungler, and you're always with your jungler as the top and mid because you roam down. If I see my jungler on the scuttle, I just walk down and level him quickly and walk back up.
on
I
bot lane.
think
Like
it's
the
just
only reason I just do the passive all the time is that I don't want this bug to happen. And the second time, and the second thing is like when I go some minion XP down, so that I'm maybe even level 6 than my enemy bot lane. Like,
yeah, I like it gives you XP too. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm more on the side of disconnect on this one though, because it's like it will usually give out like between 1500 and 2000 EXP a game, and I just checked that's equal to like leveling from level 17 to level 18.
wow,
So
that's a
it
lot.
is, yeah, it is quite a bit of XP. But what I don't like about it is that you can't see how much EXP you're gonna give, because sometimes you'll have the options to level 1 or 2 people.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
then-
and that's terrible. What a terrible mechanic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you give 30 XP to your ADC or whatever. It's like
It's a 2-minute cooldown.
Yeah, and you just have like 500 EXP stored. It's the most
Mhm.
infuriating thing.
Wow.
So it should be a
Yeah.
number there.
That's
That shows
that's
how
definitely
much.
something, yeah. And I think something that would maybe like I would like to add this one. This is not really like kind of related to the topic, but
Mhm.
I think there should be something added to his passive, which just would just increase his popularity, but not his power.
Mhm.
If he could level up people to level 19, like in the late game,
Mm.
like giving base stats for one more level, like
That'd be
and
sick. I think that's cool.
I mean, that would make him really unique.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. It'd be completely useless as well.
It would be really useless. Like
It'd be so
like,
useless. Yeah.
rarely people get level 18, so level 19 will like just be like something. But people would like it, like just
Yeah,
casually playing Zilean, and
that would be awesome.
you're saying,
Yeah.
oh, I could give you level 90. It just looks cool, and people say like, okay,
I
that happened because of Zilean. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
I've
that would be cool.
seen that actually in what's his name? The weekly thoughts from Riot. Back when
Yeah, really.
I think it was around the time when Karma small rework was planned as well, which
Really?
got cancelled. Yeah, because that was with when the Karma was supposed to like decrease the cooldowns on abilities. It was either that time or it was. I just remember it was said that they thought about Zilean buff that would allow him to level up. I think up to level even 20. It would be basically just base stats unless you're Udyr.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
base stats are still good. Like if you
Yeah,
manage to
it's-
level up someone with Triforce.
yeah. Like just champions that use like items that use base stats and stuff. Yeah, it
I mean,
would
even
be
overall.
We're
impactful in a
talking
case.
40, 45-minute games here, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true, but
Yeah, so that's where I don't mind it.
exactly.
Maybe another side topic, but when I read a lot on the Reddit from people saying, why doesn't Zilean E reduce attack speed as well? And I'm like, you can't give him
What
anything.
the fuck?
You cannot give Zilean anything more than he has right now, or he's immediately broken.
Yeah.
Some people were talking about quite an upvoted Reddit post maybe a month ago of saying Zilean's E should ground because the power creep of dashes is too high right now. And I'm like, Zilean E grounding? I mean, the most broken thing in the whole game. It'd be unreal. And that's why I think people don't understand how on the edge Zilean is of balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he is very balanced right now.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, there was
He's really
Axel's
balanced.
video for a reason about Zilean as well. I don't know if you've seen
exactly.
it, but yeah.
But something I would really love is when Riot gives Zilean a buff like I just said, like a buff which is not changing anything,
Mhm.
like basically not changing anything.
Yep.
But it looks cool, and people will test and play Zilean and just enjoy such features.
Yep.
And that would actually nerf Zilean really hard. Like when people start playing Zilean, so the like more people play it, so like
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
most Zilean players are pretty advanced on him and
Mhm.
like this unique playstyle, so they're obviously good on that champ. It's not like an Astral like at Kaiser, who like everyone played like once and
Yep.
just picks it without really knowing what the champ really does.
Mhm.
Speaking of one tricks, and yeah, that would make him like weaker, and like people would see him in a different light.
I
And I
think
that would
he's
be cool.
really unaccessible. I think I know a lot of my friends who I kind of jokingly like we're playing a normal. They're like, what should I play mid? I'm like, play Zilean. He's OP. You know, they're like, I'm not playing Zilean. I'm like, nah, play him. And they like pick him as a joke. They play one game and they go like 0-6. And like, this is terrible. I'm never playing it ever again. You know, that's most people. I think that's a lot of people's experiences. Like they play one game and like, this is I can't do anything. I don't understand what this is. It's a
Yeah,
totally
you have
different
one
play
damage
style. And people are like, I can't be bothered thinking about this anymore. I'm going to go back to playing like something that's makes sense, like Syndra. That makes sense. Whereas Zilean, a lot of time, I don't think he makes sense to a lot of people. So I totally get what you mean. I think giving him something a bit more gimmicky would be good to increase his popularity, but not his power. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, his power is totally fine. Like
Yes.
I don't
Yes,
think
yes.
He's a bit on the strong side even. I feel
Really?
like
Well, I think. What do you think? Strong, overpowered? What words are we using?
not overpowered. Just like he's
Okay,
he's
good. Just
more
like good.
than average.
Okay, I'm happy. You think he's
I don't-
overpowered?
I think like I have the feeling that when I would play perfectly, like with playing only Zilean, you could easily access the top 10 challenger, in my opinion.
Well, you could say that about every champ, no? Or most champs, not every champ. But most
Yeah,
champs.
and that's something I'm concerned of. That's just that's the reason why I'm thinking that just because I'm playing this champ
Yes.
and other people, like when you're playing Renekton to the total edge,
Yeah.
you're probably rank 1 on the server, right? On your West.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think
When you're
that
playing a meta champ, which is by
yeah,
many people like considered strong, and if you're playing him to like the 100% level, I myself think that I play Zilean at the moment, like I think I'm really good at the moment, to maybe 80% of his potential.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we don't know
And-
what 100% of his potential is, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to. I think he's got. I think it's an interesting topic. Some people do think that oh, I'm playing perfectly, but this, and that is why I can't climb it. It's like there's so much more that everyone needs to do to play perfectly, even the people who are best at the champ.
Yeah.
League of Legends is such a difficult game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's you have to play PvP, so you're always against players, and they can be of varying skill sets. You play against. It's an interesting amount of matchups. So I would talk to people about Tryndamere matchup, and sort of lower elo players might say, "Oh, Tryndamere, that's really easy. You just E him and ignore him." I go, "You face a good Tryndamere, and then you'll see why that matchup's horrible." And it's like the better the enemies get, the better you need to get as well.
Yeah.
So you can never really peak at a champ. You can't. You have to keep playing always and be at the top of your game permanently. Otherwise, you'll fall behind.
Yeah. I don't think Zilean should be nerfed. Like,
No, I don't
he's
think
still
so.
a niche pick in a way, and he has, like, speaking from support, he has really really bad matchups. Like,
Yes,
if
that's why.
played
Yeah.
like when I'm playing against very good players and I'm playing against Senna, against Lulu, against Soraka,
hmm
I'm losing the lane and I'm most likely losing the game.
Yep. Same with top lane. If I'm against a good Aurelia, I'm done. The game is no longer on me. Someone's got to carry that one. I can't. The lane is not
Like,
playable.
I'm watching a lot of my games just when something is going wrong, and I know I was in a competitive mindset, so I gave my best.
hmm
Then I will rewatch the game and see why I lost the game and why I wasn't, like, what could I have done to play like to the best potential.
Mhm.
And there are some matchups in which I could have done this better and that way I get maybe 1 or 2 CS more on my AD carry.
Mhm.
Like, that wouldn't change the matchup.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think League is a lot about matchups, but also I would always say League's more about how you play, obviously. But there are some matchups where the level at which you have to play better is too much. That it's no longer about that really. It is just enemy favored.
But what would you say at which elo does matchups come in?
Oh, I think it's very high, and I mean like we're
Because
talking
when I'm in Diamond 1,
Grandmaster.
I'm winning against Sennas and stuff all the time.
Yes, I would say about Grandmaster where matchups start being relevant.
Maybe.
I don't experience
Maybe
like
even
I
higher.
can play versus Diamond 1. I really don't mean this as an insult at all.
Yeah, no,
But I can play this
definitely
against
not
like a
an
Diamond
insult.
1 Silas, for example, and I will win that matchup most of the time. That's a horrible lane for Zilean. If I play against a Grandmaster Challenger Silas, that's unplayable.
Yeah.
And the
I
difference is huge, I find.
I think that's also just because you are like just a better player
Yeah,
than that
absolutely. No,
Silas
but
is,
you're right.
right?
You're right.
Because like for me, I'm like D1
Mhm.
at the moment, and it's like I would say that matchups like matter. I don't think they're like that. It's not like I would just auto lose if I
Yeah.
play in a bad matchup, but it's like it definitely matters when you play versus like I don't know a Blitzcrank or
Yeah.
like a Lulu or Soraka or something that just because like it's a reason it's a bad matchup, right? And
Yeah,
people
yeah.
aren't like completely brain dead, so
Yeah.
it definitely matters, but there's more ways around
But
it
I'm
in GM,
yeah.
of course.
I might still win the games in Diamond 1 just by macro decisions, like telling my teams to do this, do that,
But
and
this is not about the
force
matchup
them
anymore,
into
no.
rotations. Like, yeah.
That's not about the matchup anymore. We're talking about laning
Yeah,
specifically. In my opinion, on the laning, right? I think I understand where I lie here, right? So we talk about matchups, and you're right. At any level, if it's iron versus iron, matchups still matter, of course.
yeah, it matters.
The
True.
point is though, is there's some matchups which are awful for some champs because of a specific thing. For example, if you're playing top Zilean against I don't know, Tryndamere, that's really bad if the Tryndamere plays the lane really well.
Yeah.
It's on the Tryndamere to play well. It's nothing to do with Zilean. Zilean can AFK that lane and will win automatically. And this is why people just say, see it read it in the Discord and on the Reddit, they say, lol, Tryndamere, you just E him. And it's like, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the limits which Tryndamere can go to.
Yeah.
Your E is completely useless versus a good Tryndamere because you're not going to be able to E him enough. He'll keep walking at you. He'll zone you out of the lane. If you
Yeah.
E him and he keeps walking at you, where are you going to go? To your tower? Well, he just go under the tower with you. Or if you're standing under your tower, he'll freeze you out. It's all these different things where in lower elo, a Tryndamere is just going to shove the wave and just stand there, and let you CS.
Yeah.
Where a good Tryndamere will just dive you with the jungler, and that's unplayable. That's where I call an unplayable lane, is where you get shoved in with no counterplay and dive to the jungler with no counterplay. It's tough to identify a unwinnable lane in lower elo, because sometimes unwinnable lanes are because it's duoed with a jungler or mid, or freezing often. Yeah.
And I think in season 10 matchups always things change because lanes play out way different with jungle pressure and without.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that can never be really forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
they are just lanes like the lanes I mentioned, Lulu, Soraka, Yumi, and stuff. On weak side, you will just lose those matchups. Like, if the enemy is playing good enough, you will lose these matchups. But with jungle pressure, you can win them, and you can outplay them. And that's
the beauty of League, though.
That's not matchup anymore, but that's also coming in. That I feel like Zilean plays really well with jungle pressure. He has lots of CC, and I feel really bad when I'm weak side, in my opinion. Like, everyone can say that when on the champion, but
I think
there are champions that play out weak side way better than him.
I mean, it's so dependent on you're playing support. I think is very different. But if I'm playing top lane, it's why I ban junglers. It's because I actually kind of don't care about my lane often. Laners, a bad matchup. I'd say there's so many things you can pick into Zilean. What I love about the fact everyone plays support is when I pick Zilean, I can first pick it and everyone just thinks it's support. And then our guy picks a support and it's mid then. Then they pick a mid and they're like, oh right, it's top, and I just picked Garen into Zilean, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, you get hide the Zilean pick really well, but it's the jungler that I care about. I don't care about my lane. They can pick the worst matchup in the game, like a Pantheon, for example. That is hilariously unplayable. And I kind of don't care, because on his own, it's not that bad. It's just, if they have a good jungler that can play around top lane quite well, it bothers me. It's that's when it's really bad. So yeah, that's why I always ban junglers, and I don't really care about the lane matchup as much.
Yeah.
But I think, unless I can forget a topic, I think that's most of the main topics covered. Is there anything that we've forgotten?
Maybe proplay, if you feel like talking about it. Like I've gathered.
Don't watch proplay, unfortunately.
I don't watch proplay either, so I don't have an opinion.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's fine.
The only thing I can say about proplay is that everyone builds Roa, and that's why everyone builds Roa in
Not
solo
everyone.
because
It's
they
just
watch
mid
proplay.
lane. It's just mid
No.
lane.
Sorry, I've just got a vendetta against Roa since season 5, and
I mean, you have Ixu. I think he built Roa once, and it was because he was kind of behind. But other than that, he plays Zilean top lane. He's a top laner for Korean team, and he's basically the Zilean god right now. I would say he's the guy who people should look up to right now. Not Bjergsen. Bjergsen is great Zilean. I'm not going to say Bjergsen is bad Zilean, but I think Ixu shows bigger potential what Zilean can do. It's better showcase of Zilean's utility, of Zilean's capability of the game, of his making others carry the game, kind of.
Yeah.
It's not the Huni playstyle that when the Kleptomancy was the thing. It's just I think he played both Glacial and Airy Zilean. He didn't pick PTA as far as I remember.
No, but he thought about it. I wrote one sentence to him, and he considers it, but he still didn't his teammates are not sure about that. That's why
Yeah.
he's not allowed to pick it yet.
Yeah,
But
that's
we
it.
hope so. But I personally think that Zilean is really broken in team play. Like
Yeah.
when you have a team, and your support, your mid lane, and your top laner can play Zilean to a like medium good level. I think Zilean is really broken. You can pick him like first rotation,
It's
like not
interesting,
first pick. I think they're better first picks, but
Yeah.
I think before the second ban phase, you can just pick him. Like pick Zilean, an AD carry, like meta AD carry, like I don't know. Aphilos was long time the AD carry to go. Like it doesn't really matter which AD carry.
Mhm.
All fit really well with Zilean. And the strong jungler.
Mhm.
And I think you just win the draft because people, how should they draft against that? Like
Like
if you are capable of flexing Zilean to support top and
mid lane.
I
mid
think
lane,
that's a really
it's
interesting
really
point. 'Cause
horrible.
I do it in soloQ and even feel strong in soloQ, let alone pro play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't watch pro play, so I can't have too much of an opinion. But
Mhm.
if in soloQ, sometimes I just pick Zilean and I go, by the way, if someone wants me to go support or mid, I'll do it. It's fine. It's no problem. Like if the matchup's bad for you, just go top. It's fine. I'll go mid. Or if
Yeah.
the matchup's bad bot, yeah, I'll just go bot. Whatever. Or so yeah.
I think that was
And
this
if you
kind of the strength, of Cloud9 back when Jensen was still in Cloud9, because Jensen is also known for his Zilean. He doesn't play it anymore. I've read it somewhere. But like
Yeah.
Cloud9, when they made like the miracle comeback from like I think they were last place and then they got the last spot to go to Worlds with the Zilean Kindred strat as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, their support, which now his name slipped my mind. I'm very sorry, Jesus Christ. The Majestic Bird guy. Oh my God! Now he's
I don't know.
in Golden Guardians. Zazel. He
yeah.
also
Yeah.
played Zilean. Like I don't know if he played it before, but Cloud9 was also able to flex Zilean very reliably, which was also quite beneficial. Like it's always flex picking. Like I've heard Tiamato Cannon many times talking about it, and like many times on stream, like on Worlds, wherever it's always brought up how powerful are the flex picks, and that's why Riot usually nerf these champions as well. Like Kiana that was able to go jungle, Camille with jungling, Silas with jungling.
Yeah.
Uh,
Strong.
but yeah, basically, like that's like his biggest strength. I think both that and as we said, the utility that he brings up. Like there were like
He's giving so much for the team. Yeah.
like regarding this season alone, like this spring split, like he was basically picked, as we said, by Iksu. There was the famous Senna Zilean by Fnatic
Yeah.
that Biotic was so kind to teach them.
Yeah.
And also
was a
he
pleasure.
worked as a counter pick to Azir. But that's mostly Asian leagues like KSLK and LPL. Which
because they're more used to Zilean, like
yeah. I mean it gracefully failed
publicly.
for Jinjin finals, sadly. Because I
Yeah.
was really hoping that they'll bring up the win with the Zilean. So he would actually get more recognition. But
like when I'm watching pro play and Zilean, I'm always getting pretty frustrated because like in mid lane, those pros definitely play Zilean better in lane than I do. Because I just don't know how mid lane works. Like wave manipulation and stuff is way different than on bot lane. So I think they do the stuff they do for a reason. Like but the transition into mid and late game, and when I see how Zilean players, like competitive players in pro play him, it's really horrible because his ultimate is getting used really weird. Like in competitive play, when everyone is on the same on the same page talking, it's pretty easy to outplay like in low life Zilean ult.
Yeah.
So you have to think way more about it, and like you could review every Zilean ult you kind of do, and make a point for okay, this one was necessary, this one was too early, this one was not necessarily.
Huge skill cap on that. Like,
Maybe you let even people die because say the team fight will go on further and stuff. And that's something you can also do for your own ultimates in soloQ.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
in soloQ, for me, like it's frustrating because like recently I'm trying a lot to do perfect ultimates. Like I want to say about every ultimate I did in the game that it was kind of in the frame second. Like you can't really do it like that, but at the frame second I wanted to ult. Like when I review, I said okay, this was perfect. But in competitive in solo queue it doesn't matter because people, when you ult someone who's very low, they will last it them anyways. Like
Yeah, 100%.
no one cares.
Like, I would say it's rare that people play around it. People do. It's usually in lane they play around it, but in the team fights, oftentimes they just have to kill them anyway because you can't just let the guy live for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You'll just do too much work. So yeah, they just have to kill him and wait for him to revive. But no, I think last second ults are something which I try and do all the time as well. It's risky though, and sometimes like you can kind of go on Zilean ult tilt. I find where if you do one last second, you just miss it, and the next time you do it way too early, and it's like, oh god.
I failed that. I failed that frequently, and people get
Mhm.
really mad about me. Like that I
Yeah,
do that.
people get so mad at your ult, man. The amount of times Zilean are ready that I've seen, and like
Yeah, I'm getting pinged for that any
Yeah.
time. But
yeah.
like I think out of us three, I think I might be the guy who misses the most ultimates because I'm always limit testing. Like I wanted to do it later and later, and I failed some, and
I
it just
find
happens.
that might be because I'm playing top that I practice ulting last second all the time. Because when you're 1v1 top versus these quite highly mechanical players that play top lane champions, they will always play around your ult. There's no
Yeah.
time I find that they just forget about it. You get a Riven who will try and fake you out. They'll like actually R backwards, stuff like that, to just make you ult and then they just walk you down because they can't deal with you being on high HP again. Or like a Jax who like stutter his auto attack. That's the one that gets me all the time. People who stutter their auto attacks, well played to them. Honestly, it's very good, but it's an absolutely glorious play. But I think I play against that so much that I'm actually used to a lot of the tricks people use. So when I'm 1v1, I think my ults are very good. Sometimes in team fights, I'm a bit too panicky, like especially with new champs who I don't know the numbers that well. Like when Aphelios runs at me, I'm like, I actually have no idea what he does. I just ult. Like, is he gonna one-shot me? Is he not? I don't know.
That's funny because for me it's the other way around. Like when I'm playing top lane, I'm like always dying with ultimate up.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting dove and we're standing like, yeah, I'm standing on the one side of the turret and he's standing on the other side and there's a wave crashing.
Yeah.
And he's like basically waiting for me to ult.
Yeah.
And like anytime he's just flash out attacking me and I'm just trailing it.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
I
I'm just so used to the top lane. I've been got by it too many times. Also, ulting early is something you need to do in top a lot. Like really early ulting. Like if you get dive top, you have to ult in full HP. Otherwise, you get CC locked full. Like Renekton and Sejuani diving you got ult on 100% HP there.
And whenever I'm top lane, I'm like, okay, like I didn't think that Zilean ult is such a weak spell. Like on bot lane, you always get it off. And on top lane, it's like, okay.
Top lane is a weaker spell, absolutely. It is. It's not. You'd
not
really
that
rather not use it in
strong.
your own lane. You want to go mid and use it mid and then walk back top.
And I'm like pinging my jungle. Okay, that's 2v2. Then I can hit my
Yeah, for sure. It's really
we went
strong
up
in
to the
in like 3v3s in river and stuff like that. It's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of like all the Yorick ultimate, I would say, actually, because you basically make someone deal damage for a much longer period of time that they would be able to otherwise.
Oh, I miss old Yorick. What a classic.
Definitely, yeah.
A true classic hero of old League of Legends.
Yeah.
That was a good rework there, I think.
Yeah, I miss him though. I liked old one more. Well, anyway, do you have any like other points that you would like to bring up, or we can wrap it up?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to wrap up here. I think we've covered most things. I think there's not much else
so, yeah.
to talk about. I would say a warning. If you're wanting to play all these different playstyles, the reason why the discussions are so different is I actually think playing top, mid, and support is incredibly different. Your playstyles changes massively. Your items change massively. So do not go into bot lane building like a top laner, and do not go into top lane building like a support. It will not work. Like it will be a disaster. So make sure you know why you're building what you're building and why the runes are good for your matchup. That would I would say.
Yeah. So like, what could be cool if all of us who play, we have different playstyles and different experiences climbing through the ranks. So
Mhm.
like, would maybe add something if everybody said like one tip or something that they think people who play Zilean fail at.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Oh yeah.
You want to go first?
Me first? Yeah, I can go first. I would say that like you should really practice hitting your double bombs because it's such a huge difference when you hit and when you miss. So like, cause usually, at least for me, I find myself that I miss them if I don't focus. But if I focus, like as long as you have a slow on them, like you will hit.
I think you're
I would say
absolutely right. on
95% of them, even on good players. So it's just a matter of focus and like, for me, it's like that patience. Just wait half a second longer, look at how they're moving, and always throw the bombs one at a time. I don't throw them like both at the same time, because then I usually miss.
Yeah, same.
I think my tip would be just kind of aim specifically at top lane and also in mid. Never Q without your E unless it's like level 1 or level 2 if you don't have your E and you just want to go for poke. I think most of the time it's a waste of mana, it's a waste of cooldowns to actually Q without your E because most players can either dodge it or the champion can just dash out of it or something and you're just wasting mana. If you walk up to them, always be playing around your E range. You walk up, you E them, and then it's a free double bomb right there. So yeah, always look for Eing first, then bombing. I think that's a big mistake some people make. I've actually had some players tell me they didn't realize Zilean E could slow. They only thought it was a speed up. So make sure you actually use the slow because that's probably the most powerful part of it is the slow.
Yeah. I think my tip would be that you make your teammates aware of what your champion does, because I talked about it in a long way, like in this podcast, that this is not a known champion. So make your teammates aware of what you can do and what of you're capable of, and yeah, win the games. Like you can enable any carry and carry the game that way.
I think that's a great point. I also think it's a great place to wrap up.
Yeah, so thank you very much, guys, for joining in. That was very insightful, and see you.
Yeah, sure.